Kelly, I think the time has come for us to discuss a topic we've really never touched on this show before. That's a game called Doom. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I am. As a matter of fact, it's the one where you jump on logs with a frog and try and get right. You like avoid turtles or something like that. Is that that
Nailed
Doom?
it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gamer cred
So,
up.
if you guys couldn't pick up on our subtle sarcasm there, we're Doom fans. I think that's fair to say.
Yep. I'd say there's a lot of videos that would say it would indicate that we are.
And I mean, I think we both have obviously PC original is probably, spoiler alert, our favorite version of Doom for both of us. But we both have a lot of thoughts on the console ports of Doom. We've shared a little bit of those. I do think we need to go in and do proper Panda reviews of each one over time, and I'm sure we'll get around to that eventually. But there's a lot of ports of Dooms, and one of the more infamous ones is 32X. And I think it's because it made it to market first, beating out the Jaguar version by I think a week or something along those lines. But it was heavily compromised and it gave people a bad impression of 32X as a system. 32X, for anybody who doesn't know, is a piece you could attach to your Genesis that upgraded it to a 32-bit, a low-end 32-bit system from its original 16-bit hardware. But it could still utilize the Genesis. It kind of like bootstrapped those chips. So it kind of, in a weird way, worked a little bit like a Jaguar, where it was different chips working together. Um, it wasn't a standalone console though. So it just, was this upgrade to your Genesis. So there was games produced for that. There was also a CD attachment for Genesis, and there were some games that utilized the CD attachment as well, along with the 32X and the Genesis to give you better CD games. The problem, Doom had a really bad reputation for 32X, which at the time I didn't really understand because I got it when it first came out. And while it is missing a lot of content, the music is absolutely terrible. Going back to it utilizing Genesis elements, they realized the main problem with bringing Doom to a console was the frame rate dropping. And the easiest way to get rid of that is to cut the music out. So Jaguar just completely dropped the music from in-game music altogether. There's music between the levels and the startup screen, but in-game music is just gone because they wanted to keep the frame rate strong. For this, they decided that they could still have music if they just let the Genesis play the music. But because they rushed it to market to be the first one out and they cut so many corners, they didn't optimize the files for the Genesis sound drive. So it sounds terrible. And between the missing content, the awful audio, it got a really bad reputation. Now, later, other ports of Doom came out that were absolutely unplayable, like 3DO and Super Nintendo. And all of a sudden, the 32X started to look better and better over time. People realized that while corners were cut, the game actually plays and you can turn the music off. So if you turn off the music, it's a playable, solid version of Doom. It doesn't look as good as the Jaguar version, but even less people had a Jaguar than had a 32X. So I think most people, myself included, didn't even play the Jaguar version when it originally came out. And the funny thing in hindsight of that is all of the console ports, for the most part, are the Jaguar version because id Software themselves redesigned the game in a console format that did away with the episodic version from the PC and gave you a more streamlined game, including changing some of the level architecture and things like that to streamline things. So that became the official console version that most versions were built off of. Cool fan projects that popped up over time. Doom Resurrection being the main one that added in all of the missing content again. And it plays on original 32X hardware. You just download the patch and everything's fine. What sucks about that as a 32X fan, it's kind of a bittersweet thing because it's awesome to have the game to play. And it's awesome that it plays on original hardware because it vindicates 32X fans like myself who were like, no, this was good. There's really good stuff. It could do cool things. The other part of that is like, man, this could have been really great at launch if Sega didn't screw it up, which became their thing for a while there. And that's why they don't make consoles anymore. So it's kind of a bittersweet thing, but they didn't stop there. They decided since, 32X could use the Sega CD, what if there was a Sega CD version of Doom and that utilized the 32X power? So they've started putting that together. And what we're getting is something, honestly, it looks like what the Sega Saturn version of Doom should have been.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to describe it that way because I mean it does the 32X version, and Mike has talked at length about the 32X version of Doom. There's ample coverage in the Bog Panda library on insights on it, but it gameplay wise, you just talk about gameplay was strong, and but fell down on a lot. The shortened, they kind of for getting to market first, they just dropped a bunch of levels and did some more things to simplify. So awesome things like Resurrection, the Doom Resurrection, like Mike mentioned, fixes all that. Get a patch, you're good to go. And then and hold my beer. Let's add in the Sega CD, and then with the CD, you get massive music improvements, a gazillion more textures, the ability to kind of tweak the colors. And then, and this is more, I think this is more of a what 32X and Resurrection brings to the table versus the incorporation of Sega CD, but the ability for an actual playable side by side multiplayer, which is super cool. And that looks good. And that can be both either if you're playing co-op mode or more of a death match kind of thing that you can get some pretty good stuff there. So um, it it does really amp up the Sega offering of Doom significantly. Um, I'm still deeply Mike mentioned at the beginning we're kind of ultimately probably the PC version's the favorite version. And I'd say that's still true. But sprinkle a little ray tracing dust on top of it, and that version is also videos available on that. We'll include a link in the description to that. That has become my Doom go-to because it's just so visually cool, and you've got just the basic same quality of the PC version of Doom. So that's good. But this takes a lot of strides. It's not ray traced, but it brings it up big game, and then brings in just a huge potential for huge amounts of levels and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really utilizing the CD element for the additional storage of all of those extra levels.
Yeah, which
And
makes
this
sense.
brings in Doom 2 levels and is starting to bring in levels from Final Doom as well. So again, this is closer to what people expected the Saturn version to be, that unfortunately it wasn't. For whatever reason, id Software, and they've taken responsibility for this and said it was their fault. The Saturn version, they wouldn't allow them to use their own engine for it. So they made them port over the PlayStation levels to the 32X engine and then port that to the Saturn. So it's like a copy of a copy of a copy, and that's what you got. At the end of it, it was a poor running, didn't look great. It was honestly a step down from the 32X version, which didn't make sense because the Saturn is essentially like a supercharged 32X. It uses the same core CPU as that.
Yeah, a copy of a copy of a copy is less trustworthy than any sort of medical diploma hanging in your house. Yes, it would be, which oddly enough is a copy of a forgery. So there's that. But yeah, no, this is cool. The continued props to the folks behind all this going through. It's great to continue to see folks getting patches together, kind of up in the game in the 32X world, and doing it in a fantastic way. So it's super cool, I think.
Yeah, I'd love to see them continue to work on this and see. I mean, there's no reason with all that extra space that they couldn't do the ray trace one, I would imagine, or some version of that.
Yep, I would assume. Although I think there's certain I'm guessing because I'm not technically adept in this space on this kind of stuff, but I'm kind of assuming some of that really great lighting effect and stuff can achieve through some of the ray traced environments, starts to play back into some things that are more about the available hardware you have to work with and processor
Yeah.
speed and other things there. So it's you could have high res images on there, but is what you're running on it going to be able to push through what it needs to push through at a much higher resolution and with ambient lighting and all that kind of stuff. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
that's
it'd
a
be
really good point. You don't want to turn this into the 3DO version.
yeah, it could get a little interesting there. Although this whole conversation's got me thinking about one of our pet projects, the Bog Boy, where we're going to reimagine the Virtual Boy for Nintendo from Nintendo and have the Bog Boy. It occurred to me as we had this conversation today, we probably need to offer a CD attachment to the Bog Boy that can just maybe sit like directly on top of the head, and that'll allow us to potentially improve the graphic capabilities
I'm
of it.
picturing something like those the ball caps with the beer cans on the side, but it's a CD drive.
I think that'll work. And then we could have the Bog Boy hanging off the bill of the hat. Um, and then I don't know, maybe a printer on the other side. We'll have to keep working. Kind of go.
Could be anything.
That's right.
That's what's
All
great
sorts,
about this project.
all sorts of extensions from there. But I think we'll start with the CD. Maybe it's a Blu-ray player on the other side. I don't know. Well, let us know in the comments what you think there are the key peripherals for the Bog Boy. Because we're continuing to make glacier-like progress on the demo, mostly because Mike and I don't understand hardware, software particularly well. We don't solder. Uh, these are all have been impediments to us furthering our work with Bog Boy.
Soldering is my clean break on any project. When I'm looking something up on YouTube and I'm like, this is great, I should do this. As soon as they pull out that soldering gun, I was like, yeah, skipping.
Yep, that's for me too. And then anything that's a little bit dip switch heavy, I start to go, I don't know. I don't know if this is for me, but we'll see. But so those limitations will slow us in our development. We recognize that. Um,
But don't
but
worry, soon we'll start taking pre-reservations.
for the Bog Boy, yes, a special Amico version too. But we'll continue to work on it. We'll have to pick somebody who's like a super brand protective and kind of include their logo on it too, just to kind of touch all the bases on it. But yeah, we'll continue to plot and bod, and who knows, maybe at some point we'll have some prototype videos for you, and you can enjoy it.
Wait till you
No
see our
promise.
mascot, Steamboat Willie.
That's right. No no promise on the CD attachment to begin with, but who knows? We'll see. Could be a lot of fun things. Meat grinder might be nice. You know? We'll see on that. Um, we got off the retro trail a little bit there, but I think it's important for us to keep the folks aware of our progress on Bog Boy. Just
The
no
Pod Boy
parts.
is alive and well.
That's right.
Bog Panda.